Welcome to MustardHub Voices from the Frontlines, the show that shines a spotlight on leaders in their field. These are the folks that are solving problems, inspiring their teams, and creating standout experiences for their customers and their staff every single day. These are real leaders, real results, real actual people. And I'm your host, Julie Ewald. And today I am here with Rhiannon Hoeweler. Rhiannon, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, so I guess tell me about you. You are in a very fun space.
Yeah, so I am the VP of Experience and Impact for MadTree Brewing. We are located in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we are a regional brand. So we distribute beer all the way from the northern reaches of Ohio into like the middle of Kentucky. And we have 3 locations in the Cincinnati area. So one in our downtown, what we call, over the Rhine, and then another one in the suburb of Oakley, which is sort of an inner ring suburb. And then we have one in a northern suburb, which is called Blue Ash in Summit Park. And that's our MadTree Parks and Rec.
So how did you end up in brewing?
Little bit of a circuitous route. I actually have an undergrad in environmental science and my master's degree also in environmental science. I went to work when I was done with my master's at the Cincinnati Zoo as a project coordinator for the visitor engagement initiative. And then I moved my way up. So I stayed there for 11 years and became the VP of Visitor Experience Strategy and Fun. And then
I like that title.
I know. And then about 5 years ago, I moved over to MadTree to become their Director of Strategic Impact, really focused on getting them to B Corp certification, focusing our philanthropic giving in the community. So we are members of 1% for the Planet, which means that 1% of our sales go straight back to environmental nonprofits in the community. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I moved into my current role, which is VP of Experience and Impact. And so I now get the opportunity to lead marketing and HR and our sales team and our private event sales team while also doing the community impact work. So,
No, that's fantastic. So what all does your role entail on kind of like the day-to-day basis? You know, what you find yourself in the trenches with?
Yeah, so I think we are in a state of growth right now. When I first joined MadTree in 2013, we were 80 employees strong, and we had 1 location. Now we are 320 employees strong, and we have 3 locations, a couple different brands that we put out in the world, not only beer, but a Sway product that's a vodka soda. And so my opportunity, right, is to lead at a pretty high level. I've got some great team members on my team. And I think where we are right now is we've grown pretty quickly over the last 5 years. I think our opportunity now is to like button up, right, what we've built. So when you grow at that kind of a clip, you can lose some things from a cultural perspective and or change. And then also you're exponentially larger. So there's a lot of opportunity. So any of the things, the process maybe, or the policy that you didn't have quite buttoned up, those like little warts start showing. And so I think now is the opportunity to really button up all that process, get it really locked and loaded before we grow again. So I think that's where our opportunity lies right now as a whole team. And so my team plays that role through the marketing and sales lens, and also really through the people strategy and HR lens as well. I think that's a really big component to the next couple of years for us.
Yeah. That's so much growth so quickly. And I can imagine, as you're saying, it's not just the word showing, but if there's any place where things aren't buttoned up, those little fissures, all of those new team members, because it's not just you have all these great opportunities, but I'm assuming that a whole host of new challenges comes with not just so many new people, but also the, multiple locations, having them being a little bit less centralized.
Yeah. Yeah, everything you said is accurate. I think there's also, gosh, there's so much beautiful growth opportunity for the people within our team. So we've had a lot of people move from one location to the other to seek opportunities for growth. And that's been really amazing to see and watch. And I think, you know, that's happened through a lot of different avenues. That could be people moving from one department to another or staying within the same department, but there's an opportunity within that department to grow. So I think it's just allowed for a lot of like internal growth. And that's been really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine for, when we talk about things like engagement and even like for workplace satisfaction, being able to have those opportunities for development, for growth, for being able to really kind of expand, either moving up the chain or even lateral moves, depending where your interests are. I could see that is probably working wonders in terms of keeping everyone engaged and retaining team members.
Yeah, I think the idea that we're just a growing company is attractive to outside folks. I think that we lead with a purpose is very attractive. So it's a
Yeah.
definitely a talent attraction tool. Um, so
I
yeah.
would be, yeah, no, I would be curious because, as you just said about, having a role with a purpose, being with an organization with a purpose. Um, how has that been in terms of talent attraction? Like, how many folks are coming there because they're like, this is something I want to be about, versus the folks who are like, yeah, I need a job.
uh, so there's a couple of ways I'm going to answer this. One of them is, right, it has been an opportunity to attract top talent to our space when we can't necessarily pay top dollar. We can
Mhm.
provide an amazing opportunity to build a company that is purpose driven. So that's really exciting. And for some people, that's their priority, right?
Yeah.
So there has been some beautiful opportunity to attract and retain talent. I think it's also been a way to attract talent across like all levels of the organization. It is something that people talk about in the interview process a lot. I think the one piece that we haven't quite solved for yet is we can attract talent. They get really excited about what we're doing. And then when we ask them to actually fulfill some of the obligations that come along with that, there can be some grudge. So there's like this idealism about what we are and what we're doing. And then when they need to fulfill that actual obligation, that's the place where I think we've got opportunity is how do we make that really attractive and exciting in the moment, right? So my example to you is like each member of our staff has to volunteer 16 hours a year. We pay them to do that. We set up all the opportunities. There's a lot of it's like having teenage children. Like
Yeah.
uh, they don't want to go, don't want to go, don't want to go, but when they get there, they have a really good time. And
Yeah.
so I think that's the place where we need to figure out how does it feel more exciting when we're in them, like getting them there, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And, I can see how, a little bit of the disconnect between talking the talk and, walking the walk. Because, it's something that's like you care about, it feels good, but, it's like, oh wait, I actually have
Do
to
it.
do something. It's a little
Yeah.
bit of, it's not putting your money where your mouth is, but putting your time and your labor,
Yes.
where your mouth is. Um, but no, I could see that, a lot of folks getting really excited about it, but yeah, it's interesting, and that is a challenge to kind of think of how to weave that in further into the culture to make it a little less like wrangling
Yeah.
teenagers or herding
Yeah.
cats or pickier. Huh. So that's really so. In terms of the volunteer opportunities, what kind of things do you normally line up for them?
Yep. So we do probably 50 or 60 events per year. So I basically line up any nonprofit partner that's a 1% for the planet nonprofit. I will
Okay.
line up work with them. So it could be anything from every spring and fall, we work with Rothenberg Rooftop Garden, which is a school in Cincinnati, and they have a rooftop garden that is just unbelievable. It overlooks the entire city. And every spring and fall, we spend about 2.5, 3 hours with that team getting the garden ready for the spring and ready for the kids. And then we shut it down in the sort of fall, winter time. And the school has kiddos that are on free or 100% of the school is free or reduced lunch. So kids K through seventh grade, I think it is, in the school. And so it's a place for them to learn and grow. They do math up there, they do science up there, and they read up there. And so that is just one of many activities. Most recently, we shut down all of our locations for one day a year, and we get out and we plant trees in neighborhoods with less than 40% tree canopy cover. So on October 28th of this year, we shut down every location and everybody is expected to go out and volunteer in the community. So we planted trees, we cleaned up litter, we cleaned up alleyways, we, we will do anything. We'll work in garden beds. It's
Yeah.
a lot of us. So they have to find a lot of work for us. And so that is, that was one day and our team gets 4 hours of work for that. So that's a unique one. We don't do that all the time.
Yeah.
It gives you kind of a scale of like little simple things that people can get involved into, like big, massive projects.
That is really fantastic. And I have to say, I was in Cincinnati this past summer, and the city it seems to be changing a lot. It's very lovely, and it's kind of nice to hear of a local business who's getting hands on and helping to further make make a place better. Um,
Um, to
so
your point,
yeah, go ahead.
I will say like one of the really cool things that's happened over time. So that tree planting that I was talking about, we started that 6 years ago. And I think it used to be just a MadTree outing, and it has grown into an entire community event. So we have about 20 partners that work alongside us. And to see the survey results year over year, there's definitely been this movement and pride in that day that is like a lot stronger than it was 6 years ago. And that's been really cool to see the responses of our team, just how proud they are that we're working in community with other organizations in neighborhoods in need. It's just been great.
Yeah. Well, it helps a lot that you're making an actual impact. You're something you can see. Like you can see these trees growing. You can see these neighborhoods getting more green.
Yeah.
It's not just performative. It's like, no, this is something that it's not like, okay, well, one day we cleaned up trash and the trash is gone. I don't know what that's going to mean tomorrow or next week or next month, because maybe we don't come back for a year. But with like, you're like, no, this is something that's continuously doing ongoing good for the community. So no, that's really great. And I could see that something like that, would definitely, in terms of getting folks a little bit more energized with the volunteer experiences, that something
Yeah.
like that would be really impactful.
Yeah.
So I'm going to shift gears a little bit
Yeah.
and just kind of talk about, one of the things here, at Mustard Hub, we talk about people problems. We create a platform to hopefully kind of solve some of those when it comes to things like culture and engagement. But I'm curious about what kind of people problems or challenges you kind of been seeing for employers.
Yeah. So I think actually it kind of ties back into this whole idea around our purpose. I think it's actually why I think we're so beautifully suited in this moment in time. So I think, when you look at our health claims and what sort of rises to the top, mental health is one of the things that is sort of on the increase, right? And people are spending way too much time on their phones and not connected enough to nature. And so our purpose at MadTree is to connect people to nature and each other. So we are much bigger than beer at this point. We started off as a local brewery, a craft brewery, and we have grown into this hospitality company alongside being a brewery. But I think the reality of our business is that we really like to think of ourselves as a bigger network and community hub for all things green in Cincinnati and the region. And so I think part of some really cool work that we're getting to be a part of is we're doing research on those trees that we're planting and looking at health outcomes for the kids in those neighborhoods. But I think that applies exponentially to the people that work inside of our business. And so I think part of the key to success, and we've got to figure this out because we're not there yet, but like these things are interlinked. So our purpose, our volunteerism, our focus on the environment, our connection of people and nature to each other, all of those things are interrelated. And I think if we can keep at it and keep chipping away at it, some of that mental health, and some of the burnout and drain that people are feeling right now, think there's a beautiful storm that could be, and we haven't totally unlocked it yet, but
Yeah.
we're chipping away at it and we're making progress, and that feels really exciting.
Yeah, no, and that's one thing. I've had a lot of conversations with, just all sorts of folks lately doing different things, whether they're HR leaders or business owners or consultants. And it's really, as you're talking about like mental health, that's one of the things like mental health care and burnout and all these things that really for employee engagement and satisfaction and retaining folks, it's really something that is more and more important. People aren't like, oh no, like work, you just work,
Yeah.
generationally speaking, it's not like, oh, we're just gonna work. I punch the clock. I come, I complain about my job, go back and I just keep doing this till I get to retire. No, like people, we want things. We're seeing ourselves as humans and not just, interchangeable work parts.
Widgets.
So yeah, like look, we're actual people and trying to be able to, think of ourselves as a whole person, whether in work or out of, I think is really important. And I think that, employers, I find it really refreshing to see more employers being aware of that and providing experiences, providing benefits, providing things that really more align with what actually people need for their whole selves.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I think interestingly, I serve on a few boards, but I serve on the Cincinnati Parks Foundation board. And one of the things that they are doing right now is tying with the Osher Center to prescribe nature and the outdoors through Cincinnati Parks as medicine. And so I think there's just something happening that, and I know for myself, and I will say, I'm, obviously with an environmental background, I love nature, just period. But I have altered my work life. And so every morning when I wake up, I used to get up every morning and work. I'd
mhm.
literally get on my computer and like have my cup of coffee. And I do not ever do that anymore. I get up and I do have my coffee still.
Well,
But then I go on a walk in my neighborhood and I take in the trees and I take in the sights and the smells and the birds. And that changes the way I lead in my space every single day. And for a long time, I was writing a lot of gratitude down, which was also helping. I need to probably get back into that practice. But just the idea of switching up my patterns, really focusing on me and allowing my brain to wake up and get ready for the day and get myself excited because I really am excited about every single day. But that shift has helped me walk into the office with better energy for everybody that I'm leading and everybody I'm around, whether it's a peer or, somebody on my team. I'm a better person when I'm energized and excited.
yeah.
I'm a better leader when I'm energized and excited. And if I'm not taking care of myself to do that for everybody else, then nobody's going to take care of that for me. So
Yeah. No, that's really brilliant, and I appreciate you saying that, because that's something that one I've been trying to do. The time change though kind of messes with me, but you know, being able to make some tea, go for a walk, be outside,
mhm.
um, just taking that little moment, which is harder to do once it's so brisk. We'll call it brisk
Yep.
in the winter months here in Milwaukee. It's getting briskier. I don't know. Anyway, more brisk, but yeah, it makes it hard to do. But the other thing that there's a organization locally here that called Human Works 8, and they're doing this great workshop that I'm going to be attending next week about essentially like bringing more gratitude and things like that into your work life, which I'm really excited for. And I only bring that up because I think that, again, like you are your whole person, and, being able to have these same kind of things that feed our soul and make our quality of life better in general, having more of that in your work and being able to have that intentionality, it makes things a little bit more enjoyable. Like you
Yeah.
get to be
Yeah.
your
Generally
seamless,
speaking.
like I say, like you get to be your seamless, true, authentic self moving through the day. It makes anything less of a slog, personally, if you get to be yourself. So I would like to know really quick a little bit about technology and what role technology plays in your role.
Yes, so that's hilarious. I People make fun of my technology lack of prowess. So technology is critical to. I'll say the things that I really love. So we've really started running most things through Power BI, which gives us
Mm.
really quick information at our fingertips, and that can be everything from like headcount to revenue to our private event sales, right? It is helping us run reports at like at our fingertips in ways that, a few years back we just didn't have that capability. And so trying to find the information, you had to like try and find it from 20 different locations. And so I think the power of the reporting system and using Power BI now has really changed the game for us to get us into a much better position to help lead, right? So whatever you can take
Yeah.
off the plate and run automatic reports for so that you're not having to dig and figure these things out is like a huge step in the right direction. Um, and so I think that for me, anything where you can alleviate some of that, um, I don't know, silly busy work. That's not silly.
Yeah.
It's critically important to business, but it's infuriating if you can't find it. And so I think that's been a game changer for us. And one of our co-founders is like a wizard related to Power BI. And so he just like, we're just talking about a turnover report. And so he's pulling that together. We're going through some changes on our HR team. And so the gentleman who's been doing our turnover reports is leaving. And so our co-founder is going to pull in a report that I can have easily at my fingertips, and then it's done, right?
Yeah.
And it's just pulling from data that's already there. It's just doing the homework for us. And then it's a way to communicate out to our teams so that they know what their turnover rate is. We have it broken down by section and vision. And yeah, so it allows for better management, honestly, and more efficient management. So
Yeah, it's nice when you're able to get like, data tells a story and when you're able to kind of get, it like anything, if you don't have all the data, you're telling an incomplete story. You're not really sure, what actually is going on. It's hard to draw, accurate conclusions when you're only looking at part of the picture.
agreed.
So, it's yeah, no, I appreciate that you're using a tool like that to be able to make actual actionable choices based on something that's, more holistic. Um, if you were, let's say, limited to like one like main metric around people, like what would you say is like the most valuable piece of data you could get your hands on?
Oh my gosh. That's a really great question. Um,
And it doesn't have to be something that actually you currently find to be measurable. How about
yeah.
like to like that? Like if you're like, dude, if I just could get numbers on this somehow.
Yeah. I think um, it's interesting that you say that. I think one of the things that would be really interesting to me is like if you had what is somebody's like baseline happiness score uh, in life, right? And then what does working in one of our establishments look like to them? Like, what does that do to their happiness score? Does it bring it up? Does it bring it down? Is there like, yeah, that would be probably happiness or joy or I don't know, like fulfillment,
Yeah.
right? What's their base fulfillment before walking in the door? And then what is it after being on the job? Right. And then what does that look like over time as well? That would be so fascinating to like explore and see.
That would be really no, that would be really interesting. And I know there are folks from when we were at HR Tech making tools that it's hard though because they can make tools that measure that, but of course these are all very self-reported.
Yes.
So, but so there is kind of sort of a way to try to measure some of these things, but it's a it's it's a work in progress, I think, for all the organizations. But no, that's really interesting. Like, is this actually? is our environment, our work environment, actually making their lives better or worse in
Yeah.
some sense?
Yeah. And then also, I mean, this is weird, but like, how could you benchmark it against any other employer that they've
Hmm.
ever worked at if they
Yeah.
work somewhere else? You know, a lot of times.
Yeah, like, yeah, has this feeding your soul more or less? Are you yeah. Like, what is the level of dread you have when you pull into the parking lot?
Or excitement. It could be
Their
excitement.
excitement, yeah, like, let's just compare. Like, what is the excitement to dread ratio? Like, so, no, it's interesting. No, that would be really interesting. And, I could see as more and more different kinds of business intelligence tools, as more and more analytics tools and things like that come into play. I mean, I would say it's not absurd to think there would be a time, within our careers to see that something that could benchmark things like that if more and more businesses are adopting that kind of technology, you know,
It's
you may
kind
be
of
able to get anonymized data for a cohort.
it's kind of like the stats that they pull off of like soccer players when they're playing,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
they are pulling stats from their physical body,
Hmm.
um, and it's you know all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you could like it would be so fascinating. It's totally uh, probably absolutely inappropriate in every single way to
It's
collect
still
data like that, but it's really fascinating.
It's interesting though. It is really fascinating. And I think, we talked to some folks who do different things in terms of personality assessments and things like that. And I think like having those kind of metrics, for in my mind would be so much more valuable than a personality test. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, well, no, like I can figure it out. I've been going through my life as a insert four letters here, apparently, for forever, like, but what are the actual quotients? What are the things? Because, oh my gosh, what's the name of this guy? He's a former newscaster called 10% Happier.
Oh
The idea of like, what could, I feel so bad. I can't remember his name. It stands
yeah,
something,
I
but
literally just talked about him today. It's wild.
yeah, it's like, like the idea of like, gosh, if I could be 10% happier, that would be amazing. Like, sign me up, if there's something that I can do on an ongoing basis that gives me 10%, like, sold.
I will tell you, I think gratitude is part of that. If you were to write every single morning about gratitude, it is wild what it does to your whole being. I mean, I spent basically 90 days writing out different things. I had prompts in the morning and then I would write.
Yeah.
It was the physical act of getting it out of my body through my hand and onto paper, but it was also, it started my day in a way that I have no, and I am one of the most grateful. Like I wake up every day excited about everything. That took it to this other level for me that is wild. I would highly recommend it.
So this is a good segue. So we're wrapping it up, and I ask always if you want to leave the audience with one last idea, a final call to action, a tip, some kind of piece of advice, really whatever you're like, this is, I have a hunch, it could be gratitude related, but otherwise, like, what is kind of this number one idea that you want to leave folks with?
Yeah, I think actually I think for me one of the things that I actually had to verbalize outside of my, just get it out of my mouth was self leadership is critically important. And
Mm,
I had never heard that term until probably a year ago. And I was in a podcast doing an interview like this. And he was like, yeah, you're basically doing self leadership. And I was like, oh, I love that term. And it is, self leadership is critically important. So anybody who is leading teams, even if you're just leading yourself or you're leading your family or you're leading something at school, whatever you need to build your own self leadership. For me, that was walking in the mornings, changing my day, right? How do I set the tone for the day for myself and everybody around me, and writing gratitude? And it changed everything for me, literally. I started focusing on the things that I really wanted to focus on. I'm a stronger leader. My employees' engagement scores went up, not shocking, right? My own personal engagement scores, even though I didn't, take my own personal
mhm.
test for me, like that went up, right? So setting the tone for the day for me was critically important. And doing that in the morning by walking and writing changed the game. And it's something that I will take with me for the rest of my leadership journey and the rest of my career, because it's critically important for my personal success. That may look very different for somebody else, but whatever that self-leadership journey is that you need to take yourself on, invest in yourself.
I like that idea of self-leadership. I've not heard that before. It makes so much sense. It makes
It's
absolutely so much sense.
critically important. I know the next phase is going to be my best phase, and I'm in the best position I've ever been in my life for right now. And it feels great.
Yeah, I can imagine. Jeez. No, this has been such a great talk. So, I guess, Rhiannon, if people want to find you online, just, I guess, stalk you on LinkedIn.
Yep, absolutely. That's where I play the most.
All right. I love it. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Great insights, great chat. And for all of you who are watching or listening, thank you so much for joining us for MustardHub Voices from the Frontlines. Do me a solid, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that stuff you're supposed to do. And sign up to get started with Mustard Hub for free. Visit mustardhub.com. And also, while you're there, learn more about how you can build great cultures that last. Thank you so much.